Hey Tribe, Sally here. Hope you're having an amazing and fascinating day. I know I am. Welcome back to my tiny RV kitchen. So, this is kind of interesting. I started off to do one thing and now I'm doing something else entirely, all while I really need to be doing a third thing that hopefully I'm going to get to before too long. But you're going to see two things in this video, what I started off to do and what I ended up doing. What on earth is that? Well, I guess you're going to have to wait until we roll the intro to find out. First of all, thank you so much for being here. Thank you to all my channel members. Stay tuned all the way to the end and you can see a list of channel members there. Someplace on the screen here it's going to pop up where you can scan the QR code to join for as little as 99 cents a month. If you want to support us in other ways, look at the links in the list down below. There's a lot of stuff you can do that doesn't cost you anything but does help to support us, as well as things that do cost you something and also help to support us as we continue making videos for you. All right, without further ado, let's roll the intro because I can't wait to show you what I got going on.
Wake up with the sun in our eyes. Sally forth, no need for goodbyes. Journey calls, let's roll the dice. Every mile a new surprise.
Let's start off with, this is my pantry. And it's pretty big, especially for a small RV. And so what I started off to do was reorganize this top drawer. And I want to give you kind of a glimpse of tiny RV kitchen life. So all of this stuff was in this top drawer, and some of it was a surprise to me. Some of it I had forgotten was in there, actually. So that's part of the reason I wanted to do this. I wanted to get it better organized so I can more easily find things and then be able to access the things that I actually want to get to. And almost all of this was also in there. This is the second thing that I set out to do today, and it's the first thing that I'm going to share with you. As I was pulling things out of the drawer, I'm thinking, you know, I really kind of feel like waffles. Not sure exactly where this will show up in the sequence, but I mentioned in the pancake mix video that I want to do some reorganizing of my pantry, and so that's what this is all about. So I've got, so I said, you know, I noticed I say so, all right, very frequently, and actually. Those are kind of my go-to words that I kind of say over and over and over again, just like I am now. So what I've done is how unconscious that is. I got out a bowl of water, put some warm water and a little bit of dish soap in it. I'm washing my lid inserts, and then I'm going to rinse these off, and then I'm going to use the same soapy water to wash the actual bottles. And then once I get the bottles dry, I'll actually be able to I'm going to really pay attention now, aren't I? I'll be able to start on the process of cleaning up my pantry. But I really have to make sure that these bottles are completely dry. Otherwise, my dry goods will end up problematic. Right, Kit? Isn't that right? Is he showing up? No, he doesn't quite show up. So, I want to get these all washed, and then we'll get them rinsed. And I'm sure this won't be enough, but it'll be a start. And I guess it's worth mentioning that I also choose when I'm going to work on projects like this based on other calendar-related items. So in this case, this is the Monday before Thanksgiving, and I'll be leaving on Thanksgiving morning and going up to Parker, where some friends and I are going to have Thanksgiving dinner together at the casino. And so what this means is when I'm on my way back from Parker, I'll stop and fill up my water again, which will have been 2 weeks since I got water. That's going to be a little on the dicey side, and I'm hoping I've got enough to be able to take a shower before Thanksgiving dinner. And if it turns out that I don't, then I will end up getting water on my way up to Parker, take a shower before I go into the casino for dinner, and Probably have to fill up again on the way back. We'll see how that goes. Now, I will say, I didn't look this morning, but when I looked yesterday, I still had 3/4 of a tank, and I've got about 6 extra gallons of water that I can dump in, because I got those extra 5-gallon water containers this year. So I think that's going to be enough to get me through. I'm not really going to be doing a lot of cooking between now and then, so I won't have too much that needs to get done. And so this is the vinegar and water spray bottle, which is my go-to method for rinsing dishes. Takes a lot less water, but I'm also putting a little hot water in these this time, just a little bit. But I'm getting most of the soap residue off with the vinegar and water. And I'll be even slightly more conservative and dump that into the next jar. Actually, I'll just keep dumping jars. And that should work pretty well. See, I can feel when the soap residue is gone. And this will be a good indication of just how much water I'm actually using here too. Which I think is going to turn out to be less than 2 cups altogether-ish. And you can, you can see I'm rolling this around in an effort to be as water conservative as possible and still get the job done. And I'm going to let these all kind of air dry for a little bit. And then I'll get the towel and try and dry them some more. And then I'll turn them right side up and let them air dry for the next couple of hours, so that I can be sure they're really dry before I start loading them up with my pantry items. Does that make sense? Okay, so we've got this bowl, which the water looks fairly dirty in. Not super dirty. Part of that is just what came off of the sponge. That's just part of the way things work. All right, so what do we have here? That's just about 8 ounces. And that's probably not quite 8 ounces. So about 16 ounces of water-ish to wash all of these 8 mason jars and lids. I feel pretty good about that. Let me know what you think. I'm thinking you probably don't need to watch me dry the dishes. What do you think about that? And while I'm drying jars, I guess let's talk about why I'm going through this effort. Because I'm sure many people would say it's not worth it, and it may not be worth it to you. Here's why it's worth it to me. I really do have my own level of OCD, and part of what I know to be sure is that plastics and food are not good for us. So the first thing is I want to get as many things out of plastic bags as I can, for that reason alone. And I recognize that that's not a good enough reason for many, many, many people, and that's fine. You do you. It's just something that's important to me. And the next reason is the glass jars actually make it much easier to find and see the item. So, and I just realized I'm going to have to rethink the way that I typically label these jars. I'm going to do it initially, but then when I go up to Parker and go to Walmart, I think I'm going to have to get a roll of painter's tape or some kind of removable label that I can put on the lid. Actually, I could just put multiple labels over top of the lid. It's not that big a deal, I guess. Because normally I just label the jar, but since they're going to be sitting in this deep pantry drawer, it's going to be pretty hard to see what they are without having labels on the tops of them. So, tidiness is one issue. it's actually much easier to reseal a jar than it is to reseal those stupid Ziploc bags. What I didn't show you this morning was cleaning up all the stuff that I've managed to spill in that drawer from the original packaging Ziploc bags that don't keep things completely sealed. Let me know if you find those Ziploc bags to work super, super well, because I sure don't. So I do use plastic for storing certain things. I use plastic to be able to vacuum seal things to freeze so that they won't become freezer burned. Do that a lot. But I really try and keep plastic off my food to the greatest extent possible. Now, if I had the room to display these, that would be cool. In fact, I used to always do this in my sticks and bricks. I always had a lot of mason jars with a lot of different kinds of foods in them. Everything from beans to chia seeds to whatever. And I do feel a little bit disappointed that I don't have that much room to be able to do that here. But even when I lived in the house, all of those jars lived in the pantry or in a cabinet, you know, because you don't want all your food exposed to a bunch of light and so forth. So this is where we are right now. We're going to just let these sit in air dry for a couple of hours, and then we're going to start filling them up. And actually, let me see how my sealer is doing here. Oops. So I have this jar sealer, and I'm going to show you this because I've already filled my jar of chia seeds. And especially for things that aren't getting used often, this is not a good example. I think this is... You put it down over the top of the jar, and then you press the button, and this will vacuum seal the jar. It's not the kind of thing that would be useful. It's not canning, right? So don't do this with things that you think you're preserving per se. This is vacuum sealing in the same way that using the vacuum sealer with plastic bags keeps them fresh in the freezer. This helps to remove air from the jar so that the thing that's in it will stay fresh for a much longer period of time. And I can't remember if this auto shuts off or if I need to stop it. I'm going to go ahead and stop it at 45 seconds because I'm sure that's plenty. And then we'll find out if I'm right or not. Oh, well, duh. Can't do it with the ring on. No wonder it wasn't sealing properly. Let's try that again. Okay, so here we go again. Ah, hear the difference? Yeah, that's definitely sucking all the air out. And again, if it doesn't stop automatically by 45 seconds, I'm going to stop it because I'm sure that's enough. So again, this would not be useful. Like if you're making soup or stew or something like that, don't think you can do this and then store your jar on a shelf. This is not adequate to be able to do that, but it is adequate for things like this. So here are my chia seeds all done. And part of the reason I went ahead and sealed this jar, even though I use chia seeds on a regular basis, was that I couldn't quite fit what was left in the package in this jar. So this is going to be backup until I finish what's in the bag. One down, a whole lot to go. All right, here's our first example, and I can't tell if you're reading it right side up or upside down, but I decided to go ahead and write what it is on the lid, which is protein oats in this case. But I want you to also see, on the side of the jar, I wrote the basic directions, right? So 1/3 cup of oats to 1 1/4 cups of water, and that's 190 calories. I included the calories because sometimes I like to have a basic idea of how many calories I'm consuming in a meal, so it's helpful for me to have that count. Now, the other thing that I'm going to do is keep the package. And what I decided to do is put all of these bag packages into a gallon-size Ziploc bag. So if I want the full nutrition information or anything else off of the package, I'll be able to get that pretty easily. Next up, which we can't see from there, so let me move over here so you can actually see what I want to show you. Next up, I have a quart-sized mason jar because this is a huge bag of whole dry milk. And we're going to dump this in. Now, what's going to happen is I'm not going to be able to get rid of all of the packages completely. Although, if I end up with enough leftover jars, I should be able to maybe make that happen, but I don't know if I'll be able to do that or not. And I have spent enough time with dry goods in mason jars that I know I can kind of overfill it and then shake it down and it'll be okay. So once again, we're going to stick the lid on just like this. And I'm doing this for the things that I don't use very often because it helps them to stay fresh for longer. So we're going to let this run for about 45 seconds. Closing up the milk package. And I will say, this bag says best by March 13th, 2025. This kind of stuff is artificially dated. That's Best By. There's nothing wrong with it. So we're going to keep it and use it. I'm going to see if 30 seconds is long enough. Yeah, feels like it's on there. So we're going to go with a 30-second seal from here on out. And then I'm going to get my pen and I'm going to label this whole milk. And I decided a couple of different things when I decided to go ahead and write on the label. One is these lid seals are cheap, so I could just buy more. Okay, so we need to make a cup of milk. This label is so hard to read. We need 35g of powder. So once again, I'm going to write this on the jar. Right here. 1/3 cup. 2 7/8 of a cup water. So that makes a cup of milk. So that one's done. All right, so I'm going to continue on. I don't really think you need to watch me do each and every one of these. I don't think it'll be all that interesting. So I'll show you what we got when we're all done here. As with most things, there are always compromises. But I have to say, overall, I'm very happy with the way that this worked out. So we're stacked too high. We've got a 16-ounce jar on top and a 32-ounce jar on the bottom. And I can tell what everything is. And then I've got, you know, like noodles and stuff like that stuck along the sides. So it feels like a job well done. Let me know what you think.
Wake up with the sun in our eyes.